Yo, what's happening, fanbase, and welcome back to another Naruto video. With me, I have the Naruto King, Swagkage.
How's it going, friends? Swagkage here. Welcome to today's video. I would say, normally, today we're going to be talking about X, but I guess Nux should probably handle that since this is his channel.
Yeah, well, we're going to be talking about basically every Naruto arc and dissecting, without any formality whatsoever, what we like and dislike about them. So, with that said, would you like to begin?
Yeah, and now, every Naruto arc doesn't mean every arc in both parts of the series. It's going to be pre-time skip, part 1. So it's going to be Zabuza, Chunin Exams, Search for Tsunade, and the Sasuke retrieval arc. And, you know, that's not a whole bunch to go over. I guess it may have been a bit...
We're not going through every filler arc, too? That's my favorite part of the whole show.
Oh, yeah, no, we gotta go through everything in the second half of Season 3 and all of Season 4, and then we gotta go over that one thing where they went to the, like, land of tea or whatever, and there was the dude with the lightning sword.
Bugs and...
Yeah. No, my favorite...
Where Lee had the most screen time in the whole show.
My favorite part of the entire Naruto anime is how they needlessly changed the reason Sasuke ends up in the hospital to him being injured by a guy with a lightning sword, even though he had just been admitted to the hospital for his injuries with Itachi. Then he gets out, and then he gets hospitalized by this filler arc guy, and it's just like, oh, well, Sasuke kind of fucking sucks, doesn't he? I mean, they could have just left it like it was in the manga. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I guess there's no better place to start than with the Zabuza arc, you know, the Land of Waves, the beginning of the series. An arc that a lot of people are fond of. Not many people throw a lot of criticisms at it, and while I do have my own, I think that this is a fairly strong arc, and it's definitely a good introduction to the world.
Absolutely. I like how it introduced Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi, the dynamic between their team, and kind of what we'll be seeing in the future. Like, that whole first arc, I understand it's basically a test for the whole show, but...
Yeah.
It's also kind of a microcosm as to how the story works. Naruto and Sasuke allegedly don't like each other. At the same time, they really do care about each other. Kakashi's a total badass, even though Zabuza beat him the first fight, which was stupid. Transformed Naruto into a shuriken, which no one ever's transformed into an inanimate object again in the whole series.
Yeah, you're right. Well, in Boruto, Naruto transformed into a Rasen shuriken, which is... wild, but you know, that's a
Wait,
that's
is
a
that
really
the
long
manga
way.
or the anime?
That's in the anime.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
But I mean, it was clearly a callback to this. That sort of thing doesn't happen very often. I'm fairly certain that there are instances of people transforming into objects later on in the series, but I don't think there's as much focus placed on it as there was here, because this was supposed to be a super cool hype moment. But I mean, just stuff like that is like omnipresent throughout this arc. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff that gets you really hype, and I guess that's true of like everything else in the series. But you know, like when Naruto first starts using the Nine Tails chakra, when he beats Mizuki, when they outsmart Zabuza, when Kakashi first uses the water dragon jutsu, like all that stuff is really cool. And I think that the arc is kind of misleading, which isn't its fault, it's the fault of the rest of the series. But you get this idea that they're going to be going on missions regularly, and that they're going to be traveling to all these different parts of the world, but then you find out that they're just like defending the Leaf Village for 90% of the show. And then I guess they travel to other areas of the world in the Fourth War, but it's just to fight people that they've already fought before. Just like really,
or Madara,
really,
who could pretty much destroy the Akatsuki easily, no problem.
That aside, I was also going to say the war also introduces some new characters, but none of them are as memorable as like Zabuza and Haku. So I think that
there was Ginkaku and Schminkaku in the war.
Yeah, you're right. Person who beat Tobirama #1 and person who beat Tobirama #2 did make their appearances in the war arc, but
and they almost beat Inoshika Cho too.
Well, yeah, but you know, King Kaku lost. But going back to the Zabuza arc. I think that this precedent it sets for exploration and for you know, like the introduction of all these new, cool, crazy, powerful characters is great. And I think it gives the show or the manga, depending on how you digested Naruto, it gives it a good foundation. And I mean, like the only problem is that the show doesn't really follow up on that. Like they don't go to any other places where there are just like regular village people and stuff like. I mean, some like actual problems like that don't have anything to do with anything outside this arc in particular are in the anime. The animation is kind of poop in some places just because the budget wasn't super high because Naruto was still kind of experimental. They weren't sure how successful it was going to be. There's also just some like weird stuff and like really cheesy moments and lines, but like for the most part the arc's really good.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned about how it sets a precedent for the series that it'll be about ninjas going on ninja missions, and that really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But while I do agree with what you're saying, I kind of understand that as this is your normal cliche ninja life. It sets your mind as to what do these ninjas do? What are these ninjas' missions like? Well, that's covered in filler arcs. Every filler arc is one of these typical missions, but they don't enhance the narrative per se. Whereas, you know, the Chunin Exams and the Tsunade Arc and Sasuke retrieval, that's all fully narrative based.
Yeah. Well, see, this is also an example of a mission going wrong. This isn't necessarily normal. It's definitely not normal for a bunch of genin to be embarking on a mission where the person they're supposed to be protecting is being attacked by like Chunin and Jonin and like rogue ninja who have attempted to assassinate Kage before. Like this is definitely.
To be fair though, I don't think that we want to watch Naruto walking dogs for like 80 episodes.
Oh, of course not. And we also don't want to watch them fighting like other genin because then Kakashi would just like slaughter them. So you know, like I get it, and I think that the arc. It does a really good job taking into account the power of every member of the main cast and all of the antagonists. It does a good job setting up what the world is like, the sort of stuff that you can expect from the world. And I just think that it would have been cool if we could have gotten more stuff like this from Naruto, but I get why it went in a different direction. Yeah, the filler all sucks, dude. I don't like any of it. I mean, there's some
that's what
good
it is. They're just
filler.
Poorly written ninja missions.
There's some okay filler sometimes, but generally it's all really bad.
And then you have Ino dressing up as a princess.
Yeah, the best.
The try not to laugh challenge over a corpse.
Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about the Zabuza. Oh, well, also, real quick, Zabuza and Haku are, I think they started the trend of every villain in the series being incredibly memorable. Like, them in particular, everybody knows them.
Because of Talk No Jutsu.
I mean, Naruto's Talk No Jutsu with Zabuza is actually pretty cool, and it pulls on your heartstrings.
Naruto's Talk No Jutsu in general was pretty cool. I
mean, but I think
that it became a meme because it just happened so frequently. But in general, I kind of did like it on the individual level.
There's some that really pissed me off, but this one I didn't have any problems with. Yeah, Obito's was really stupid, but Zabuza's Talk No Jutsu defeat was fine. Like he starts crying because he finally starts to understand Haku, and it's like, it's fine. It's a touching character moment for him, and then he just goes out like a goon and takes out all of Gato's henchmen. But yeah, no, that is all I have to say about the arc. So if you want to add anything else, feel free. And then we can move on to the Chunin Exams.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I love how they developed the main cast and the villains, and went to show that even these villains, they kind of have their own lives as well. They're not just hitmen that live to kill. I don't know. I feel like it enhances the world. That 20-episode stupid arc that doesn't really affect anything else, directly, I do feel like it enhanced our perspective of the whole ninja world, and it was an amazing starting arc.
Well, just to add on to your last point, it was also responsible for a lot of character growth. There's a lot of character development in this arc, despite how short it is, and without it, I don't think that the characters would have gone in the same direction. Maybe it would have been a bit similar, but it definitely wouldn't have been like exactly the same. But out of 10, I'd probably give this arc like a 7.5 or an 8. It's pretty solid. I really like it. I don't think it's the best in part 1 or the best in the series as a whole, but it's definitely really good and it's easy to watch.
Yeah, I was thinking 7.5 or 8 as well. Pretty awesome. Next arc, the Chunin Exams.
The best one.
Do you want to break this up, or you want to just kind of eat the whole thing in one shot?
Nah, come on. Let's just let's dive right in. Let's crack everything open at once. The Chunin Exams is like, it's a massive arc where a whole bunch of shit happens. It is probably the most important arc in the series because so many characters get introduced, so many crucial things happen. Like, if not for the Chunin Exams, then Sasuke wouldn't have left the village in the first place because we wouldn't have met Orochimaru, we wouldn't have met the future Kazekage, we wouldn't have met any of these important Genin characters, we wouldn't have got introduced to the 8 gates, you know, all this other crazy, and it's all handled so well. I have a handful of problems with it, but for the most part, I think that it is just a spectacular arc, and I mean, I'm not sure whether I think it's the best one. But
well,
I really like it.
It's my favorite arc, hands down, in the entire series.
I get
love
that.
The Chunin Exams.
I can totally respect that. And it has what is, I think everybody can agree that they like Gaara versus Rock Lee. It's in everybody's top 5.
That was my favorite fight for sure. That's top 5 fights in all of anime.
Yeah, so I think that it is, you know, personal preference aside, probably the best fight in the series, just because, like especially when you're watching it for the first time and you have no idea who Lee and Gaara really are. It's just so great, and it lets you know that you can get invested into the struggles of side characters as well, not just the main characters. And I mean, Gaara versus Lee isn't the only great fight either. You have like Shikamaru versus Tamari. I
was about to say.
I think Sasuke versus. I think every time Sasuke is on screen in the Chunin Exams, it gets really tense and interesting. Generally, anyway. I mean, like that's not always the case, but he's typically used for like really big, flashy moments, like his fight with Gaara, his fight with Yoroi, the guy who can absorb chakra, like in the preliminaries, was pretty cool. Even though it was only a couple of attacks, and it was also set up with like the restriction of him not being able to use the Sharingan in mind, and he just uses it anyway. So it's kind of dumb, but I think that's cool. Neji versus Hinata is great. I mean,
even first revealing Kankuro's power when he fought, stretchy, roundy, bendy, wendy guy.
Back when Kankuro was cool, and back when Tamari was the coolest. Tamari's still cool in Shippuden, but in Part 1, she's just a legend. She just like wipes the floor with 10-10. So and then everything in the Forest of Death is great, and this is all without even mentioning the test at the beginning, which I think is brilliant.
That written exam is definitely one of the series highlights for me. Everyone finding out a different way to cheat, because it's going to show also that this will not all be big explosions. Whoever has the bigger explosion will not necessarily win. There's a lot of tactics involved, and granted, in the War Arc, you kind of don't see that so much.
Yeah.
But it does exist in the ninja world, and I love the Chunin Exams for every bit it had. I like how Orochimaru intervened into the Forest of Death, and I thought it's like a whole mini plot within the greater Chunin Exams where that Naruto and Sasuke have to actually manage, to surpass somehow.
Well, I mean, like, when Orochimaru is introduced, he's basically a god, right? Like, he can do all this crazy, weird shit that you wouldn't expect to be possible with chakra. Like, he can change his appearance after, like, stealing somebody's body, and he can, like, give people these marks that power him up, and he can revive the dead, and he's like, unstoppable. And you get this feeling that the entire series is going to be working towards surpassing him. And, like, he's probably... It's not, but he's one of the best antagonists that we've ever gotten, just because he's so creepy and, like, scary and, like, powerful. And, like, every time... Like, he had so much presence in Part 1. Like, everything was about Orochimaru. Like, it was... Every time you heard...
That's one of the things I... Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, well, I was just going to say that every time you heard Orochimaru's name, like, you knew that things were serious. And, like, you associated him with, okay, well, something bad's about to happen. And, not a whole lot of villains just, like, typically... I mean, like, there are plenty of villains in fiction that accomplish this. But Orochimaru is an example of them.
Especially because that whole attack on the leaf was all Orochimaru.
Yeah.
Sand Village was being manipulated by him, and how he infiltrated. It was all this one guy that made this massive dent in the Leaf Village.
Yeah, and it wasn't as convoluted as Madara's plan either. Like, as much as I love Madara, I get why people criticize his, like, really crazy multi-year plan. And Orochimaru, like, I mean, not only did he just do it for shits and giggles, which is, like, you know, it's a pretty easy to digest motive, but he also, like, you're given a clear set of, like, you're given clear steps, or a clear explanation of the steps he took to make it all happen, and it's, like, you know, it's really easy to follow, and you get it, and you're just like, oh, okay, so this guy's smart, and he's also really strong, and he's also insane, so, you know, just, well, fuck. What are you supposed to do?
Great combo. Yeah, so like, kind of as you were saying, I like how the Chunin Exams, it gave you a fear for the world of Naruto.
Yeah.
I'll give you a stupid example. Lee was about to get killed by Gaara, and in an instant, Guy shows up there and, like, brushes away the sand.
Yeah.
Or, like, Neji's fighting Hinata, and then in middle of the fight, Neji's about to, you know, do too much damage to Hinata, and 3 Jonin were on the scene immediately. You know, it gave you such an awe of, like, oh, wow, this is a high-level ninja.
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
Orochimaru. This is what the outside world has to offer. We know nothing, and there's infinite shiz out there that we're gonna learn about. And
Exactly.
It's a ton of great side characters. I felt like Lee's story was fully fleshed out. I felt like his feud with Neji about natural talent versus hard work, I thought that was a great theme that the series honestly may have been able to stick more to. It in itself is my favorite arc, absolutely. And it had Jiraiya!
Yeah, I was about to say, it introduced Jiraiya. It also introduced Gaara, who's, like, inarguably one of the best characters in the series. And, I mean, like, well, what you were saying about, like, us not really being prepared for anything, us not knowing anything, I mean, you got the feeling that you didn't really know much about the world and the Land of Waves, but I don't think you thought about it. And I don't think anybody really considered the sort of scale that a world like this could have. And then Kishimoto was just like, well, I mean, you know, here you go. He was like, you know, you thought Zabuza was strong, here's Gaara, here's Orochimaru, just to name, like, a couple of characters. And, and you know, you think that you've watched, like, Naruto and Sasuke, and I guess Sakura, but not really, grow stronger and prepare themselves for more threats. Like, you think that they're, like, top of the food chain now that they've completed an A-rank mission. But then you find out about somebody like Gaara, who goes through the entire Forest of Death without a scratch, when Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura have to fight tooth and nail to do the same thing. Or, you know, you see Lee open up the 5th gate and just, like, clobber the same guy, and then you see, like, Orochimaru doing all of his crazy nonsense, and you're just like, wow, they're really nothing compared to all of these other people. They've got so much work they have to do. And, you know, it's so cool. And, you know, even when they make it to the final rounds of the Chunin Exams, you feel like, okay, yeah, like, you know, they've made it far, but they still have so much to work towards. They, you know, they've barely scratched the tip of the icebergs as far as their potential and just, like, the general potential of a ninja in this world. You know, it's like, it's a really cool dynamic, and it gets you excited for the things to come. And then it also comes with all the great fights that I mentioned earlier. It's just great. And don't even get me started on Orochimaru versus Hiruzen and Naruto versus Gaara. Both fucking fantastic fights.
That was an insane climax, because it got to teach you more about who Naruto is and who Gaara will become, and it gave Sasuke that jealous bone for Naruto as well, seeing wow, Naruto actually may have surpassed me to some extent. There was character development seeping from every moment of this arc.
No, Sasuke didn't think Naruto may have surpassed him. He just flat out had to accept that he was left in the dust when Naruto summoned Gamabunta. He flat out says, like, what kind of fight is this when Gamabunta just shoots out, like, a little baby water jutsu, and Shukaku responds with a wind jutsu, and it creates this gigantic rainstorm that just consumes the whole forest, and, like, Sasuke just gets like, wow, like, I'm fucking nothing compared to this kid, and just a few days ago he was a dork. Like, what's going on?
And not to mention, he walks in now with Chidori.
Yeah.
And
what a cool
Naruto
moment.
Still surpassed him like crazy.
I know. It's great. There's just all this one-upsmanship, but you never feel like it isn't earned, you know? Like, when Naruto summons Gamabunta, I mean, at this point, you just root for him because he's an underdog, and, you know, like, you want to see him succeed, and you feel like he's been working towards it, and you're just like... And then when he summons Gamabunta successfully, and he just starts clobbering Gaara, you're like, yes, dude, you got it. Come on, keep going. You know, you're rooting for him.
I don't always root for a main character.
Like,
in fact, I like Gaara as a character more than Naruto, but I still rooted for Naruto in that fight. I mean, I rooted for Todoroki against Deku. I rooted for Todoroki.
Yeah.
But I absolutely wanted Naruto to win, just because of how his character was developed.
Right. Yeah. It's important in any fiction to make sure your protagonist is not just winning the physical battle, but also the ideological battle that no doubt has to exist for two people to fight in the first place. And
granted, him crawling up to Gaara with his chin was a little wacky, but it was pretty cool.
I agree, but you're definitely on Naruto's side there, because like he and Gaara are two sides of the same coin. Naruto knows
especially
everything
because
Gaara's
it
been
kind
through.
of felt like Naruto had the legacy of Lee there as well.
Yeah.
Because until this point, Naruto is all hard work as opposed to natural talent. And
Yeah,
this was the natural talent guy that beat Lee in the past.
There are so many
real
reasons.
Great fulfillment by the end of that arc.
And then on the other hand, you just have Hiruzen versus Orochimaru, which is just balls to the wall nuts. Just like, this is what it's like when you're Hokage. You think it's gonna be easy for Naruto to get here? These people are summoning fucking forests, reviving people from the dead.
Roof tile shuriken.
Yeah, that was back when Kishimoto hadn't expected for mountain level attacks to become standard. But it was Hiruzen was still cool.
And we know why Hiruzen was a great Hokage. He was the most economically effective leader of all time. He threw one shuriken and turned it into 5 shuriken with the Shadow Shuriken Jutsu.
Well, Hiruzen was also just generally a pretty chill, down to earth dude. I liked him a lot. Yeah, but I mean, I don't,
again,
I don't want to.
I mean, this is the first real impact of death we've had in the series. A lot of shows, characters don't die. Like, good guys just don't die, especially main-ish characters. And this is the grandpa that sort of raised Naruto his whole life, and he's a beast, and he died.
I don't think two characters just standing still, staring each other in the eye, going, has been quite as intense ever before. But man, Hiruzen just, like, struggling to pull Orochimaru's soul out. Like,
those
it had me on the edge of my
constipation battles are something else.
I know. And it kept cutting back to it in between Naruto's fight with Gaara. And like every time, even though barely any progress was made, I was always like, oh fuck, come on, Hiruzen, you can do it. And they're just like, and I was still completely engrossed. It was great.
Yeah, I am a massive fan of the Chunin Exams. I would give it between a 9 and a 9.5 for sure.
But it's just a ripoff of the Hunter Exam.
Well, I know that you're a massive Hunter x Hunter fan, and I mean, I guess you're invited back if I do one of these for Hunter x Hunter. But I like the Chunin Exams better than the Hunter Exam.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but they're definitely completely different. I think the Chunin Exams are more exciting than the Hunter Exams for sure. I don't know if they're more tightly written, but they're super good. I would probably give it a solid 8.5 or maybe a 9. I don't want to give out these super high numbers too easily, but I think it was a really solid arc and one of the best in shonen anime. It's just got so many really good moments. I love it a lot. It's definitely an easy contender for best arc of part 1 with the Sasuke retrieval arc, but I think that's all I have to say about the Chunin Exams.
It's not really a contender. Really a contender for me. I am fully voting for this as the best arc in Naruto.
I can respect that, absolutely. I totally get why people like it as much as they do.
Yeah, it's everything the series is built from that one arc, and the awe from that arc as to what's to come was just insane. So yeah, but I think that basically wraps up the Chunin Exams. What's next? Filler arcs. Okay, we'll skip those. Next.
I don't think
Tsunade's
there's
arc.
actually any filler in between these. There might be a brief filler, but I think it just goes right to Tsunade's arc featuring Itachi and Kisame.
God, I love that arc too.
Yeah,
Early
I
Naruto
like it a lot
was
as
so
well.
good, man.
I know. Part 1's just really solid. So where do we want to start? We want to start with Itachi and Kisame showing up and just being awesome.
Hell yes.
Okay.
Introduction of the Akatsuki was great.
Yeah.
Because this is right after we see Orochimaru. And
Yeah,
he's the
dude.
big bad guy of the show. And then you say, okay, so there are these Akatsuki guys, and each one of them is like an Orochimaru.
Yeah,
Except they're all
exactly.
working together. What?
Yeah, man. When
And
Itachi
no one
just...
was able to do anything to Itachi in that fight.
Nah,
This
man.
is the guy that Sasuke was going after his whole life, and
Yeah.
he's pledging his life just to take this guy down. This guy is head and shoulders above everyone, above anyone we've ever met.
I know, it's great, and you know, he's gotten a decent amount of build-up by this point, so you know who he is, and you know to expect him to be strong because he wiped out the whole Uchiha clan. But when the reality of him being multiple tiers above Kakashi and like every other Jonin sinks in, it's like, oh, whoa, you know. I was not prepared for him to take this guy that was established as a total badass in the Zabuza arc and make him look like a little child. Kakashi couldn't do anything to Itachi, and it's not even Kakashi's fault. Like, he did his best. He was putting up a fight, but Itachi was just so strong, and we didn't really even get to see Kisame do much, but he just gave off this really threatening aura. You could tell, or at least I could tell, that he was supposed to be really powerful. And it's just
I
wow.
was able to tell Kisame was strong. I did not imagine he was Orochimaru tier at that point.
Yeah.
But Itachi just blew my mind.
I know.
When have you ever seen something like Tsukuyomi?
Right?
Where it's a total one-shot. You just stares at a character who, as you mentioned, established badass. This guy felt days of pain and suffering within a moment and then just collapsed. That was terrifying. You've never seen anything like that anywhere.
Meanwhile, Naruto and Sasuke are still Naruto and Sasuke tier, and you're just like, how are they supposed to beat this guy? Like, what? Speaking of, Sasuke's fight with Itachi is great. The moment where he just rips up the wall with the Chidori only to get stopped in his tracks effortlessly by Itachi is incredible. You know, and you get a real
going
feel
to show
for,
the distance between them.
Yeah, and you get a real feel for passionate Sasuke is about exacting his revenge, like how consumed he is by this desire to take Itachi out. And
it's
yeah,
not
like
just the consumption by this desire, but it's also the feeling of ineptitude that he has as he's progressing. Like, the last arc just finished with him seeing Naruto completely one-up him, and here he finally meets his brother after searching for him, and he wanted to meet him already, and he got completely destroyed. He felt like he was worthless, and that's really what leads into the Sasuke retrieval arc. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I think it's a fantastic setup for the Sasuke retrieval arc too, and the way it's weaved into the need for them to go get Tsunade is great. And I mean, I guess it creates a mini plot hole later when you're like, wait, why did Itachi put Sasuke in Tsukuyomi if he actually loved him? There are a lot of ways you can explain that. They're not really relevant to this video, but you know, I guess it's like he didn't want Sasuke to be this gung-ho against other people of similar power. He was like because you know, in hindsight, Itachi does look like an asshole for this, but it's probably Itachi being like, hey, for your own good, don't go rushing into a fight with S-class ninja just because you don't like them. They'll put you in Tsukuyomi, and you'll need a really powerful medic ninja to save you. You know.
I was always teeter-tottering whether Kishimoto knew about Itachi's
He didn't.
whole
He
double
was
agent thing.
He was definitely meant to be a bad guy at first, but I think
that's how
everything
I saw it as well.
Yeah, everything still fits in hindsight. You just have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics for it. But I mean, I don't think it takes away from the moment at the time. Definitely not.
Absolutely
and
not.
Jiraiya is a badass, and at the time you think that he's stronger than Itachi and Kisame together. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, because Itachi, after wrecking everyone, taking down the Leaf Village's top tier, he says to Kisame, if both of us fought him together, I would still die.
It's probably
and
why
even
everybody.
That fight with Jiraiya was insane too.
Yeah, when he just summons the frog stomach and has it just eat up the hotel.
And he uses Amaterasu before we ever heard of it and manages to break out of this unbreakable thing.
The first time I saw those black flames, I was geeked, dude. It looked so cool. It still does look cool. Also, this arc has the best opening. Fighting Dreamers is so good.
I didn't really love any of the Naruto openings per se, but
I guess I get it. Shippuden's openings are better, but
we're all great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also like the first Shippuden opening, but I meant the best part 1 opening is definitely Go or Fighting Dreamers.
It became the meme.
We haven't even talked about Tsunade yet in her arc, but Tsunade is awesome, and I think she was intended to be a lot stronger than she actually ended up being because the power scaling hadn't gotten ridiculous yet, or the power levels hadn't gotten ridiculous yet. Well, yeah, she lost to Kabuto, but it was implied that that wasn't her fault. And it was also implied that this was because Kabuto was just really strong. Like a really good medical ninja anyway. Like, Tsunade breaks this wall down with 1 punch, and by then you hadn't really seen anything like that. I mean, like, Jiraiya was hyping up the Rasengan to be this, like, super duper, hit him with this, they die jutsu, and he's like, are you ready to fucking rumble? And then he pulls it out, and then he slams it into a tree, and it doesn't even destroy the whole thing. So, Tsunade, like, breaking a whole wall apart is like, okay, she's probably a pretty big deal. You know, I think that the way she was characterized in this arc was pretty cool, too. She was a pretty good foil to Naruto. She's not as obvious of a foil as, like, Gaara or Sasuke or Neji or whatever, but she's still a foil to him nonetheless. She represents the complete and total opposite of his youthful optimism. She is an old cynic, and she's pretty much completely different from, like, Naruto in, like, every way. She has this, like, very feminine cynicism about her, whereas Naruto has this, like clearly, like, young boy adventurer optimism. You know, it's pretty cool, and it's a great dynamic that I don't see a lot of people talking about as much as I would like. I just think like
that dynamic, and I do like how Tsunade did not want the job at all when she was offered, and how she was totally, you know, the opposite of idealistic about everything.
Yeah. And, like, she talks shit about Hiruzen, and you're just like, whoa, like, weren't you one of his students? And you get this sense of depth from her that you're not really used to at this point. I mean, obviously, there are characters with layers and stuff, but it's like
PTSD from her fear of blood, from everything. And
yeah, exactly. So, like, you get this.
The hugest fan, per se, of Tsunade.
I get it, but in hindsight, I think she's great. Like with her, you get this sense of depth that you don't get with a lot of other characters, because, like, sure, people like Gaara and you know, like Orochimaru and, like, Sasuke at this point, like, they're obviously complex characters, but they're so fantastical, and, like, obviously they're a product of the kind of world that they're from, right? Like, Sasuke wouldn't really exist in the real world. Gaara wouldn't really exist in the real world. I mean, maybe there are cases to be made for stuff like that, but it's not as common as somebody like Tsunade, who's super grounded and really easy to relate to if you look at her through the eyes of an adult. And when you're a kid, you don't really get her, but you know, like, I think it's sort of the same thing with, like, Squidward. You know, like, it makes a lot more sense once you grow up, and I think Kishimoto did a really good job writing her, and she was also, like, a badass.
First of all, Squidward bodies Tsunade, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Second of all, I didn't like Tsunade for different reasons. Not per se that she was a pessimist about everything, but she was so immature in many ways in that arc. Like, her wanting to pick a fight with Naruto. Like,
well, I get it.
She's fighting against this 12-year-old kid. Very impressive. She sees her dead brother in him, so she's more pissed at him. And, for example, her going to heal Orochimaru's arms. Wow, that's the most noble thing in the world.
Well,
so she poisons Jiraiya before going, so Jiraiya can't do anything. And then she changes her mind on the spot. And then Jiraiya decides to join, but he's drunk, so he can't really fight. So we have Orochimaru, who has no arms, Jiraiya, who's, like, drugged, Tsunade, who's scared of blood, Kabuto, who's, like, the strongest fighter in the whole fight, and then you have Naruto, who beats him with a Rasengan.
Yeah.
I didn't love that whole fight. I felt like it was a bunch of cripples that were crippled for stupid reasons, fighting each other for even stupider reasons.
But
and there was no conclusion.
This all came from the fact that Tsunade was a very human character, and I think that Kishimoto was less afraid to give her very, like, real, not, like, super extreme or cartoonish flaws. Like, she just feels a lot more nuanced and like an actual person than a lot of characters do in the series, in my opinion. And, you know, like, it's totally fine to have, like, these you know, these, like, super badass, like, ninja assassin characters, like, you know, like Kakashi or whatever, that exist in a world like this, because, like, sure, whatever, it's Naruto. Take advantage of the fact that that stuff is there. But the fact that, but Kishimoto showed that he could also write, like, really, really, really just, you know, down-to-earth people like Tsunade. And, I mean, I get she made a bunch of really stupid decisions, but I think that's the point.
It's not just the stupid decisions. It's that after all was said and done, all those decisions all disappeared, because everything turned out hunky-dory.
Well, yeah, I think that there should have been a couple more consequences for the way that she acted, but that's more
And then, like,
everybody
snap
else's
your fingers
fault.
at the end of the arc, and she's a perfect Hokage, even though she was this drunk, gambling, pessimistic.
I don't think that she
person who
ever
didn't
that
care
she
about
was.
anyone.
I don't think that she was a perfect Hokage, and I think it's actually made very clear that she's not fond of having to do all the paperwork. But she becomes
fair
so fond of Naruto because of how much of her little brother she sees in him that she's like, you know what? My little brother would probably want me to be Hokage. He'd never forgive me if I didn't take the job. So, you know, she keeps that in mind. I think it's just, you've got to take into account how, like, life-changing of an experience something like that would be, when the entire reason she's cynical is because, or one of the main reasons she's cynical is because she lost her brother. And then she meets some kid who's like the spitting image of him, and she's just like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, I'm only like this because of, I feel like I'm a walking contradiction. And so she did her best to fix herself, and I thought it was good. I think she became less interesting after this character arc of hers was completed, but I think it was a good character arc nonetheless. I think it's an underrated part of the series. I don't think it's the main reason I like the arc, but I think it was something definitely worth talking about and discussing. There's a bunch of other cool stuff,
I
too.
liked a lot of the whole Tsunade development as well.
Yeah.
I just feel like it did maybe detract from the overall arc itself.
I guess I get that. I thought it was boring when I was younger, and I also get that some people just don't care about that sort of thing, but personally, I just think that it was really cool. Maybe some people will disagree with me and think that she's just not a well-written character at all. Maybe people think I'm giving her too much credit.
I think she is she's a
No,
well-written
I'm not saying that you will. I feel like a bunch of people will be like, oh, you think Tsunade's well-written, you guys have garbage-tasty characters, but you know. I think Kishimoto did a good job with her. Kabuto being a badass for a little bit was actually pretty cool, because I just expected him to be a complete non-factor in the fight, and then I think Tsunade did too, which is why he ended up crippling her. But the best moment in the arc, well, aside from like all the stuff with Itachi, is Naruto performing the Rasengan, because it feels so earned and like well deserved.
Right. That's why I would say that this arc, aside from introducing the Akatsuki and all that, is the best training arc in Naruto.
Oh, of course. Well, because there's also like the training, like Naruto completes the training in the middle of a fight, and he does it so creatively too. He's like, well, since I can't contain the chakra in my hands properly, I can just have a shadow clone do it. And it's like, whoa, yeah, that's fucking genius, you know. And it's the sort of thing that you'd expect Naruto to come up with. So it's like, you don't feel like it was an ass pull or anything. And when he hits Kabuto with that Rasengan, it's a really cool moment for him, and you feel like it's like
I feel like it's a climax to, you know, really it wraps up everything of that arc.
Yeah.
It wraps up Tsunade's story. He was able to, you know, win his side of the bet. He actually won the fight, doing something relatively important.
Yeah.
The whole arc was building on this training the Rasengan, training him to learn the Rasengan, teaching him to become a ninja. This was, you know, tons of progress for his character, especially assuming that he was always the kid that was never able to do anything. He made imperfect clone jutsus in the beginning. And here he's learning a jutsu that only like 2 other or 3 other people knew, ever.
Well, I mean, then you find out Kakashi also knew it, so you're like, I guess it's not that
That's why he
impressive.
said
But at
2
the
or
time,
3.
it was this like Kage level feat, and you're like, whoa. Oh yeah, no, he was always supposed to be. So never mind. But that's really all I have to say about the arc. Overall, it's really good. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. A lot of people think it's like the least good. I mean, in terms of like excitement, it's less exciting overall than the other arcs in the series, but I think the writing is mostly like really solid. It's honestly some of the best character writing in the whole series. And I'm not just saying that because of Tsunade. I think the interactions with like Itachi and like Jiraiya and Sasuke and like Naruto and everybody are just really cool. You know, Orochimaru still being a menace even without his arms, just really good stuff. Probably an 8, maybe an 8.5. Again, it's not as exciting as the Chunin Exams, so I don't like it as much, but I can't deny that it's just a really quality chunk of the series.
So it's so funny that you're saying that, because you're the guy who was praising it, and I was trying to tell you my issues with it, and I would also give it an 8 or an 8.5. I basically loved everything about the arc too.
Yeah.
I thought Tsunade's part was relatively weak in comparison to, you know, the whole Itachi.
I can understand that.
Plot that was
No,
going on
Itachi
there.
definitely
and
steals
even
the show.
Naruto's training, Itachi and Jiraiya.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Jiraiya was the MVP in that arc.
Of course.
altogether.
When he threatens
Early
to
Naruto
kill
was
Tsunade.
so good, man.
I know. When he threatens to kill Tsunade if she helps Orochimaru, it's like fucking bone chilling. Because you're like, whoa, dude.
Yes, because
Jiraiya's not
this is
messing
that
around.
goofy character.
Yeah.
But he's real in there. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of the arc as well.
I love it, yeah.
All right. Yeah. And then we have filler arcs, which are all bad.
No,
except
I don't know what
for
you're
the
talking
one where
about.
they were looking for Kakashi's true face.
That was good. That's like the only good Naruto filler ever.
Yeah. So then Sasuke retrieval arc.
I think that this arc is fantastic. I think it's really underrated. I'll go ahead and say now I'm tempted to give it a 9.5 because, man, stakes are high and it feels super intense the entire time. Like, I mean, reading through it the first time, nobody would really make fun of you if you honestly thought that everyone was actually going to die, like, aside from Naruto. You know, because, like, Neji and Choji actually seemed to... Well, let's start from the beginning. I think that Naruto and Sasuke's fight on the rooftop is one of the most underrated fights in the series. It's really good. I think, like just, you
Of
know...
the 3 Naruto versus Sasuke fights,
Yeah.
I would say that they're all, you know, kind of on the same ground. They're all pretty even. In fact, I would say that the final battle that everyone likes so much, I think that's my least favorite of the 3 fights.
I get that. I disagree, but I get where you're coming from. But I think that even still, this fight is phenomenal. And I also think that the way that Kishimoto draws Sasuke in this arc, like, so you can tell that he's still the same character, but you can also still clearly tell that he has gone through a massive character shift because of his feelings of inferiority towards both Naruto and Itachi. And I think that the removal of his headband is a great piece of symbolism. It makes him look so much different too, like, surprisingly. Like, with his headband, maybe it's just the way his face is drawn, but without his headband, he
With
just
the
looks a lot
headband,
more
he
menacing.
looks like a kid.
Yeah, but
Without the
it,
headband, he looks like he's chosen a path and he's following it.
well, not even that. I just think, like, the way he, like, looking at him, he just looks a lot more menacing and like a lot more. I don't know if it makes him look more powerful, but it makes him look less like a child, and it's weird because I don't know if it was done intentionally or not. But regardless, it's just a really cool minor design change that I think works wonders for Sasuke. And I think Sasuke is really interesting in this arc. I just think that I mean, I know a lot of people hate him, and I get it.
In the beginning of the arc, when he had that fight on the rooftop with Naruto, and
Yeah.
they each hit that water tanker that Kakashi threw them into.
Yeah,
And Sasuke has like this smug face that he destroyed that water tanker way better than Naruto did. He's still superior. Then, like, he walks around the other side and he sees that the Rasengan, you know, annihilated it in comparison to his Chidori.
Yeah.
And that's when he was like, yeah, Naruto passed me. I'm worthless. I'm nothing. And I'm going to go train by a snake bastard.
Yeah.
Hype.
Well, I don't think he actually planned to go to Orochimaru until the Sound 5 or the Sound 4 came to Konoha. I also, by the way, before that,
like
he has a cool interaction with Kakashi where he's like, "Oh, well, what if I just kill everybody that's important to you?" And Kakashi's like, "Well, I mean, that's already happened, so good luck." And then he's just like, "Oh, I mean, maybe there is more to life than revenge." But you know, he still goes down the path of vengeance, which I get. But I think that moment with he and Kakashi's great.
Oh, absolutely, because I still think Kakashi's one of the best characters of the series.
Oh, of
And
course.
if I would have to pick a main character for Naruto, weird as it sounds, it would probably be Kakashi.
Kakashi would make a good main character.
He kind of is the main character, though.
No, the show's
is really
called
the story
Naruto.
of his whole life. Okay, look, I'm not debating you on this. This is a bloodlusted debate here. You would probably win if you took that side.
I get why you think so, though. I think that he would definitely make a stellar main character if Kishimoto chose to make him the focal point. But I guess that's sort of besides the point. Sasuke's fight with the Sound 4 after this is also pretty good. Like, he beats them all up in base with his Sharingan, and then you find out that they have curse marks too, and you're like, oh, okay. So I guess Sasuke's not the only one, and these guys are all pretty strong. And you find out that they take out 2 Jonin by themselves, and then all of these Genin have to go up against them, and you're like, oh no. and it's really intense, and again, stakes are high.
It was really bad vibes. Jirobo uses his mud coffin thingy, and they are losing it. It almost beats them on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. And
of course they won with quick thinking. They didn't win with brute force either.
Yeah, well, they couldn't do anything to break the dome. The only way they were able to is because Shikamaru was there, and Neji was there, and Choji was able to break out of it, and so it was a lot of things that added up, and it was a pretty cool moment, but it was just to get past Jirobo, and like when that sinks in, you're like, oh man, fuck, they're gonna have a hard time against these guys. And then Choji's like, I'll fight him, you guys go on ahead. And I was just like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're gonna die. And then I thought he did, and then like he brings out the pills, and I was just like, don't eat the red one. And then he eats the red one, and he kicks Jirobo's ass, and it's so cool. But then I was worried that Choji was gonna die, and it's great. Like, Choji versus Jirobo shouldn't have been as cool as it was.
That Choji and Neji both died.
Oh,
really
I did too.
Everything else in the whole arc feels so much more real.
I know. That was the thing. Like, when I was watching Naruto and Sasuke fight in the Valley of the End, I was like, Naruto has to bring him back. Like, it didn't even cross my mind that Sasuke would still escape. Like, I was just like, that's how fiction is. He's gonna win. He's gonna bring Sasuke back, and then it doesn't happen. And I just like couldn't process it when I was younger, because I was like, but Neji and Choji died for this. What are you talking about? It was actually like. And then you get, like, all the filler, and I thought that they were, like, soft ending the series or something with Sasuke leaving, and I was just like, what the fuck? This was the saddest shit ever. I couldn't... I wasn't ready for it as a kid, but, I just think it's all so good, and every single one of the fights is great. I think Kishimoto designed the powers of the Sound 5 really well, considering who they went up against and everything. Like, all of the situations were really interesting.
That. Because we understand that the Sound 4 or Sound 5, we understand that the Sound 5 are crazy strong.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're taking on Jonin. Apparently, Kimimaru beat the Kazekage, which, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, you have these Genin fighting them, and these are not, the stellar Genin. I mean, they went through Chunin exams, and only Shikamaru's a Chunin. Choji lost to Dosu in 3 seconds. But, like...
And Kiba's Kiba.
They were doing... Sorry?
And Kiba's Kiba. But this is actually the only arc where Kiba's cool at all. His fight with Sakon and Yukon's fantastic.
Yeah, great fight. And it's also great that it's not that each Genin won. Kiba would have lost. Shikamaru would have lost, even though his fight was amazing also.
Dude, Shikamaru was just like... I think Tayuya, like, just knew that he was a better, smarter fighter than her, but that she was just more well-equipped and that she was stronger. But, like, if he had any good jutsu up his sleeve, she would have been done for her. Like I think you sort of get that.
It was one thing after another that Shikamaru outsmarted her.
Like, it was so
9
cool.
moves or whatever. He threw a kunai for her to pick up to stab him so she could get close enough to him so his shadow strangle jutsu could be strong enough. I don't know. I loved that fight.
It was great. Yeah, when
also.
he threw the flash bomb so that his shadows would like would be
extend,
able to
so he got the puppets. Yeah, that was an amazing fight as well. The Choji fight I only liked because really that's the first time we saw Choji really get into something.
I thought it was
super
super
The Neji fight
hype.
I liked because, well, it was a pretty sick fight because Neji's the only opponent that could have fought Kidomaru at all. No one else had a chance whatsoever against his web thingies without Neji's chakra.
It was so weird seeing Neji so out of control for an entire fight like that. Like, he used like all of his strongest moves and they like didn't do anything. Like 64 palms was worthless. Rotation like was outplayed. I think it's a bit weird that he beat Kidomaru with like one attack. But
right, so that's what I wanted to say that I liked. He beat Kidomaru with one attack that Kidomaru did not see coming.
Yeah.
That's kind of a ninja fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
He was outclassed, he put up a good fight, and he won. Not in the way that Kidomaru expected.
The best part about that was he knew he was going to get hit by the arrow. And so, like, he just accepted that it was going to happen, and he was like, okay, so I have to make sure it hits me in a non-lethal area. That way I can use the string to still kill this guy by using the gentle fist. And that's so
chakra
that's so
strangle
real.
jutsu. you imagine if he would have actually had some sort of technique that shot out strings that would actually kill people like that? That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But hey,
Then Neji
that's just a theory. A Naruto theory.
Thanks for watching.
There we go.
Gaara and Lee versus Kimimaro was stellar. But well,
Right,
before
so
we talk about that,
was for sure one of the
let's not gloss over Kiba versus Sakon and Yukon, because that fight was like all types of insane. You know, like you just had them like splitting apart, and then like we saw the Rashomon wall for the first time, and you know, that gigantic mega fang over fang thing that he did, and then like when he stabbed himself to force Yukon to leave his body, it was. Like, I mean, it gave me a lot of respect for Kiba that I eventually lost later on in the series, because like Kiba's dumb and he's not strong later in the series. Like, he seems clever and like a pretty good ninja here, but then like you get to the 5 Kage Summit where he's like, he barely knows any jutsu, and he's like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna fucking kill Sasuke myself. Like, fang over fang. Yeah, let's see how that stacks up against Amaterasu. Yeah, exactly. Like, what happened to you, Kiba? But here he's great. You know, if you have anything you want to say about it, go ahead, and then we can talk about Lee and Gaara versus Kimimaro.
So I liked Kiba in this arc as well, and that's because he didn't win. I mean, I like that he put up a good fight, and I like that he thought out of the box a way to get through Sakon on Yukon by stabbing himself.
Yeah.
But I still like that he didn't have enough force to actually take the victory.
Yeah.
And that's why the Sand Ninja, these guys that were the enemies, they were the antagonists, some of the main antagonists of the Chunin Exams, these guys came to their aid. That entrance was crazy.
I know. It blew my mind, because I thought they were going to die, and then that Naruto was going to have to take out Sakon and Taiyuya alone. And like, because I was like, I didn't even know how he was going to beat Kimimaro, because Kimimaro was giving him a run for his money at the time, but then the Sand showed up, and it was like, is crazy. Well, Naruto had already left by the time the Sand showed up.
That's when the ship sailed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. From that point on, everybody was like, okay, yeah, they got to get together.
And Kankuro was an utter badass in that fight, too.
Right?
Or, well, Kankuro got the Kiba treatment and got wrecked by Haruko Shell.
Yep. In 2 seconds. It sucked. But, you know, for now, Kankuro was great. Wow. Yeah, both of the guys that fought Sakon and I guess that's Sakon and Yukon's power. It just makes
Their
whoever
true
he
power.
fights fade into irrelevance.
Yeah, pretty sad.
We cracked the code.
But Lee versus Kimimaro was amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and then
The
Gaara
drunken
showed up.
fist, introducing the drunken fist to Lee, where you have flashbacks of Guy saying, like, when he gets drunk, even I can't stop him.
Just
and
a
this
single
is that guy
drop.
that was crippled in the
Yeah.
past. He was crippled. He thought he would never walk again. This is his first time fighting. He's fighting against this guy that beat the Kazekage, who's the father of the guy that beat Lee in the past.
Well,
and he was putting up a solid fight.
I don't think he single-handedly beat the Kazekage. I think he helped Orochimaru, but like still, Kimimaro.
I mean, I'm not coming from the power scaling aspect that, Kimimaro is stronger than Kazekage. I mean, thematically, that's how it happened.
Yeah, no, I got you. I get what you mean.
He's the guy who got credit for it.
Yeah. No, I still think that he was just there when, like, to help. I don't think he single-handedly did it. I think he just helped them, like, do it stealthily. But they acted like he was a key part of it, so he's obviously pretty important. But, no, yeah. I think it's a cool little thematic exchange between the two of them, like you said.
Yeah, and not only that, but this is the guy that Orochimaru originally wanted to take his body.
Yeah, it's
this guy
more...
was a prime candidate for, like, you know, top-tier Kekkei Genkai.
Yeah, this is another example of
healthy,
talent versus skill.
Yes, and if he would have been healthy, Orochimaru may have taken that over the Sharingan in certain aspects.
I mean, that would have been dumb, because Sharingan's
That would have been
superior.
really dumb, but at least at that point in the show, that's what we were seeing. This guy was ripping out his own spine to use as a sword. He was using his fingers' bones as bullets. How crazy is that?
Gaara showing up was great, too. Like, when he just sunk the whole forest in Sandman. Like, awesome, dude.
Wherever there is rock, wherever there is dirt, I can make more sand. And he makes like this tsunami of sand.
Yeah, Gaara going from
He was working together with Lee. This was the biggest moment. Lee and him, their fight was the best fight in the show, at least for me.
Yeah.
And them coming to work together to fight this guy after how Naruto seemed to have changed Gaara, this drastic shift from the character he used to be.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Respects Lee?
That's what I was going to say. Like, Gaara going from psycho to just this, like, stoic, calm badass was so crazy, and it was something I was on board with as soon as it happened. I loved it, and this like established Gaara as not only a powerhouse, but just like one of the coolest characters in terms of personality as well. And like he and Kimimaro just kept going back and forth. I mean, Kimimaro couldn't really do anything to him, but Gaara couldn't really do anything to him either. Like he just kept doing all this crazy nonsense, and Kimimaro just kept clapping back from it because none of it was enough to stop him. And it was crazy. It was like Hiruzen versus Orochimaru levels of insane, honestly, compared to like, you know, everything else that we had seen up to this point.
Yeah, and just the emotional weight of all the players in that fight there.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who allegedly partially beat the Kazekage.
Yeah,
the father
there you
of the
go.
guy he was fighting, who crippled Lee in the past, who's worked past his issues, and Lee worked past his issues. I don't know. I loved everything about this fight.
No, I agree.
For me,
it is stellar.
Yeah, top tier.
Agreeable.
And then, of course, we have the climax. You know,
Naruto versus Sasuke is one of the best fictional fights ever. Like, the first Final Valley fight that they have is so fucking good. Like, man, I can't think of any issues I have with it. When I was a kid, I watched it, like, at least 100 times. I love it so much. It's just, you know, it is thematically great. It's so intense. Like, there isn't a second
it's
in
really
the fight.
The ultimate climax for everything we've been seeing in the whole series so far.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like
it was everything Naruto had against everything Sasuke had, except Sasuke also had the curse mark. Naruto had the Nine Tails cloak, and he had the stage 2 curse mark, and it was just a higher level Naruto versus a higher level Sasuke, both at their peak, fighting for everything that they wanted at that one moment.
I think they were all. I think also it was more than just Naruto. It was more than just, you know, like good versus bad. It was more than Naruto fighting to save Sasuke from Orochimaru, and it was more than Sasuke fighting so that he could go to Orochimaru. I think part of it was like Naruto versus Sasuke, like personally. And they like even though they
personal. I kind of felt like it was Naruto fighting against the bad parts of Sasuke, while the bad parts of Sasuke are fighting Naruto back.
I mean, I think it's even more like complex than that. I think it's like
much more complex.
You know, you get like
Sasuke was fighting with himself the whole fight as well.
Absolutely, but I think
Naruto.
You could tell that neither of them really wanted to be fighting under these circumstances, but they were both clearly thankful that everything was going the way it was, if only because they would be able to fight each other without holding back. And I think that you get the sense that they were trying harder in this fight than they had ever tried in anything at any point in their lives before. I think Naruto was fighting Sasuke harder than he fought Gaara, than he fought Kabuto. Like this was super important to him, not only proving that he could beat Sasuke, but also saving Sasuke, like keeping his promise to Sakura, keeping his best friend from leaving and being killed by Orochimaru. It was just so important to him. And then we as the audience also know the additional pressure that Naruto has on his shoulders, because he's had to watch every member of his team stay behind and you know, fight against the sign. Yeah, and he had to stomach that. And like because they knew that if they didn't keep going and leaving people behind, then there was no chance they'd be able to catch up to Sasuke.
But again, it was even another layer on top of that, because could you have imagined the flip side? Let's say Sasuke loses this fight. Naruto beats him. He's stronger. Sasuke's narrative ends.
Yeah.
Sasuke's whole life ends. His whole purpose ends.
Yeah.
To himself, he becomes a completely useless person.
Yeah.
He can't beat this one worst kid in the class that failed 3 times in a row. He's doing everything. He got this crazy Super Saiyan power up at this point, and he still loses to Naruto. Naruto drags him back. He looks at all of the friends that, you know, allegedly died. Again, a lot of allegedlys here.
Yeah.
That allegedly died along the way, and all to bring him back and he realizes that, wow, I'm just a baby. I'm just a loser. I'll never amount to anything, and that will be the end. So they were really fighting, putting everything on the line.
Well, I also think that Sasuke learned how to respect Naruto during this fight, because, like, I mean, Naruto was doing some stuff that we'd just never seen before from him. He was accomplishing, like, a bunch of, you know, like stuff that no Genin should be capable of. And, Sasuke was just forced to accept it. And as more of the Nine Tails chakra leaked out, Sasuke started to get more and more overwhelmed. And see, that's another thing. We haven't even talked about, like, the way the fight is paced. And it's just the way it slowly escalates. It's the complete opposite of the fight at the end of the series, where they start out at maximum power and, like, they do all their crazy stuff. And then as they start running out of chakra, they start... like slowly losing power and fighting more basically. Like, this was them building up to everything they could possibly do. And I think that both of them were getting better at fight. Well, I don't think it's clearly shown that they were both getting stronger during the fight. They were both learning things about one another because of how important it was to them. So they were like becoming more skilled, learning how to counter certain things. Sasuke's Sharingan became more powerful, and like so you have them go from like, okay,
where
fighting,
you realize
like basically
that Sasuke realizes that Naruto is moving faster than his eyes can see, and
and
his
then
eyes adapted.
That's another thing I was gonna say. And then like when he finally unleashes like what at this point what we know as the most Nine Tails chakra, like that he can. Like Sasuke just gets completely overwhelmed, and like the way the music is used, and the way everything's framed, and like the cinematography, it's great.
That I remember every time I think about this fight. It's where Naruto punches Sasuke, and he pops up from the water, punches Sasuke in the stomach, kicks him up in the air like 3 times, and then goes flying. That one scene was so powerful.
I know.
Like the force behind where Sasuke's his eyes, like his pupils fade.
Yeah.
And he just like belches out as he flies away.
There's also the eagle drop where he like pile drives Naruto into the floor, and then like and that was after doing like the fire style on his big ladder of clones, and like all of them just like bouncing across the water, or both of them bouncing across the water at multiple points throughout the fight, and like all the collisions
Naruto
with the
clones
side
flying out like torpedoes.
Yeah, and like Sasuke dodging all of them. It's so good. And I think also that the fight knows when to cut the music, because music's playing for most of the fight. But there are some points in the fight where it's completely silent, and it's perfect because like you don't need any music, just because like I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking in circles, and maybe I sound like I'm just kind of bullshitting, but like I mean like there's so many good aspects to this fight. Like it's perfect. It's one of the best in the series, easily, hands down. And I prefer it to the one at the end of the series. Not by much, because I think they're both really good. But Kishimoto really knew what he was doing with this fight, and the whole series was building up to it.
I way preferred this to the end of the series. This was also one of my top fights in the series. It was one of the top fights of my childhood. Just Naruto, just Rasengan versus Chidori was crazy.
I think that it's better than Gaara versus Lee, and I get why people may disagree, but I think all of the thematic and story reasons are what push it over the edge. I mean, it's also just really cool, and I mean, of course, I'm biased because I really like Sasuke, but I just thought it was great, and also like the location and the introduction of like Hashirama and Madara too, via the statues.
Right, I was about to get to that, because so much of Naruto is history. And this is kind of like history repeating itself as well. Like you have the Uchiha guy who rebelled against the village, who was taken down by Hashirama, the ultimate, Hokage guy. And then you have Naruto, the kid who wants to become the Hokage, against the Uchiha guy who's running away from his village. But this time Sasuke wins.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a crazy retelling of history in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And that's really what a lot of Naruto is. And kind of at the end of the series, it went off the rails a little with the whole reincarnation stuff. That's more than just history repeating itself. That's like a whole different level. But all in all, I loved this fight as well. And I thought it was a great ending to the first part of Naruto at episode 135, where the series ended.
Yes, with no other episodes at all. You have to read the manga to see Naruto and Jiraiya leave. Because there's no episodes after episode 135.
No, that is actually the final episode, and everything else doesn't exist.
No, that's what I'm surprised they didn't make any filler afterwards, honestly.
I would have cashed in on it. I would have made like 85 filler episodes, introduced like star villages and all that.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, whatever. I guess they don't know how to do business. Anyway, as for the arc, I probably give it a 9.5. A lot of my love for it comes specifically from the fight with Naruto and Sasuke because it's that good. But everything else about the arc is pretty good. There's some stuff that I think drags it down, so you could argue that it's not as good as a 9.5, which is like a masterpiece, but I really like it, especially the manga version. I think everything aside from the Naruto versus Sasuke fight is better in the manga generally in this arc, and just in the series as a whole. I mean, like the better fights in the series, like Gaara versus Lee and Naruto versus Sasuke, are obviously better in the anime, but you know.
And I think my favorite anime to manga comparison fight, Obito versus Kakashi, is better in the anime.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, like, that sort of stuff, you know, but for the most part, I'm talking about the manga version of the arc, and I think that it is stellar. It's some of the best shonen I've read. I mean, part 1 of Naruto is some of the best shonen out there, honestly. It's really good, and I think it has something for everybody. And it's before it gets too crazy.
And honestly, here at the end of 2018... or depending on how long it takes to edit this video, maybe the beginning of 2019. This is the first time in history that part 1 of Naruto is actually underrated, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's better than a lot of what we see these days that we praise as better.
I
think
that the first half of Shippuden is on par with part 1 of Naruto. I think that the Kazekage rescue arc up to Pain is also just as solid. It's a lot of the arcs are better than some of the Naruto arcs. I think it's like really good. You know, and I'd love to talk about that with you sometime, because I mean, I already made 2 videos about the war arc, which I can't believe is one arc.
Yeah.
It's fucking a third of the series. But you know, oh well. But no. Again, part 1 of Naruto is great. Like I feel like some people will think that I'm one of those people who like only rates things on a scale of 6 to 10. Like I act like it's an out of 10, but I don't go below 5. But no, I'm not just willy-nilly tossing out like 7s, 8s, 9s, and 9.5s. I really do like the first part of Naruto. I think it is spectacular. It has its problems, but it really appeals to me, and I mean, well, I think I've already explained myself, and so have you, for over an hour, so I don't think there's that much more to say. I guess that's all that I have to say. You know, if you have anything else, feel free, and then I guess we can get to wrapping up.
I guess I'd give it between an 8.5 or a 9. I think it's the first arc I'm ranking lower than you. I guess switch my ranking for the Chunin exams with your ranking for this, and we're pretty much even.
Overall, I think it evens out to Naruto Part 1 being an 8.5, which is a fair rating for it. I think it's definitely deserving of that.
Yeah, and it is a great shonen altogether.
Anyway, if you're still watching, well, congratulations, fellow. You know, an hour and 10 minutes. Wow, it might not be that long. We might have some of our audio cut to trim the fat, but you know, if you're still here, it's definitely been a long video. So again, congratulations! You win a new car, provided by Nux, out of pocket.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I mean, with the amount of ads you'll be able to put in this fucking video because of how long it is, you'll probably be able to afford it.
Yeah, there we go. 1 ad every 5 seconds. I think that's okay.
Actually, you know what? Then I think it would be I would deserve a new car if I watched through over an hour with fucking like 12 ads every
5
minute.
Seconds. Yeah, this video is gonna have a filler arc in middle and everything.
All right, man. Well, congrats on your new car.
Thank you very much.
Viewer. Anyway, yeah. If you guys don't know me, Nux will probably leave a link to my channel in the description. But subscribe to Nux if you're new here. Don't need to subscribe to me. I don't need it.
You absolutely should. He's a great guy. He thinks Madara can beat the Akatsuki.
Because he can.
Because he can. Because people in his comment section don't realize how broken Perfect Susanoo is.
Well, actually, Madara got killed by Zetsu, so...
Well, there's a great debunk for you.
Right. Didn't think about that one.
Yeah, well, time to make part 3. Yeah. Madara versus the Akatsuki.
Madara versus Zetsu.
Well, with that said, I think this is a great place to wrap up. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Link to Swag in the description. He's awesome.
Thank you. You're too kind.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Out. Bye.